So I'm coming up on a 2-year anniversary of when life, in essence, took its dives. It took its initial dipping of the toes to check the temperature of the water, and I had to go. On the 24th of January 2019, I posed a simple question after a very long time of knowing something was wrong. I said to my ex-partner, "Why do you want me here?" And she said, "I don't know anymore." Now, as much as in hindsight I appreciate her honesty at the time, it was a moment that was a lightning bolt. Within half an hour, what I could take was packed, and I was walking through an extremely cold and wet January night to Oxford Station, completely ill prepared. 3/4 of a bottle of vodka inside me, and the usual absurd determination that alcohol in my system gives me to do completely stupid things. I have little or no recollection of travelling across London that night. I removed all my jewellery. I took my iPhone. I threw it out the window of a speeding train. You can see what's going on. It's an attempt to just rid yourself of everything that you in that present moment see as bogus. It's an attempt in its rawest and most futile tones to move on. I can remember getting to Canterbury that night. Excuse me. And it was just before midnight, and there, as always, there was the silhouette of my dad waiting for me. He took me home, no questions asked, as is the way with my parents. And I was blind drunk. I don't know how aware they were of that fact. I'm very good at covering my drunkenness. But after a near 2-decade absence from alcohol, it must have been a little bit more obvious than I thought. The next 7 and a bit weeks were just a nightmare, and I think primarily of my parents in that situation, how awful it must have been. A 48-year-old man who's lost everything, locked away in what was my grandfather's bedroom up to his death in 2014, saying nothing to me was wrong, saying anything to me was wrong. I hated the sight of everybody. I think one of the things that I regretted the most on leaving was that 2 very sweet animals who offered me nothing but what that breed of kindness that you get from very gentle dogs, what they give you, and that's just unconditional love, and I just ignored it and thought, fuck you, each and every time they came near me. They represented a place that I hated and didn't want to be. In that moment, of course. It was 8 weeks of pure hell being in Kent. Journeys that started from nowhere and went to nowhere. Everything that should, on paper, have been warm and familiar was just a goading, mocking avatar of a life that had now passed for me. The heartbreak that was what I witnessed in my daughter and how she felt on leaving her father to return 200 miles home, often 400-mile-hour round trips me and my dad did to drop her off, our hands clamped together in the back of the car. Every adventure tainted from the outset by knowing that the minutes were already ticking towards the inevitable goodbye. Having to go to an area where I'd spent a decade and I had to just leave her there. I couldn't face the last part of the journey to where she lived. So there is a McDonald's in a place called Botley, just outside Oxford, that holds some of the saddest energy that I've ever experienced in my life. The bravery of my father continuing that journey for me. With that distraught child waving goodbye to her father, seeing that car disappearing off into the distance, knowing I should be with her. Never, and I'm so proud of this, never has there been a stronger bond between father and daughter as there is between me and my darling Poppy. After 8 weeks, I fortunately moved heaven and earth and secured the room that I am sitting in now. The joy in my daughter's voice when she realised her dad now lived just down the road is something I will treasure forever. A week before I could secure this place, she said to me, we were chatting, playing Fortnite on the PlayStation, and she said, "Daddy, if I get my birthday wish, it will be that I can spend it with you."
When are you gonna move? Guess what, Daddy? Mummy said on my birthday. Well, she didn't, but I hoped that my wish was coming true. That's I can come to see you on my birthday. I hope my wish is.
And sure enough, thank God, that reality came to pass. The months in this new house passed, and both my daughter and I became firm friends with beautiful, dear, sweet Charlotte. And We spent every waking moment together. She was a tonic. She always had an adventure to offer. She always had something new to do. She still owes us one, actually, which we will never be able to take part in. I kind of like the fact that there's still that last little adventure that we can never have. But I have at times got a lot of out and out criticism and hatred for that which I've done in this last 2 years. And I'm not saying that I haven't made occasional mistakes here and there. I'm a human being. But I'm so proud of so many aspects of where I've been, what I've done, who I've met, the lifelong relationships that I've helped forge. At a time in my life where I needed to understand that I'd moved on and changed. I had the foundational event in 2003 where one of my dearest friends, who knows who she is, told me I had an issue with alcohol, and she saved my life. Her steadfastness and willingness to teach me the concept of boundaries and the dictionary definition of the word integrity without ever using the word itself, never uttered the word itself. I just understood that behaviour there, that's integrity. Now this next part of my journey is proving to be extremely hard, because I know now how much this journey of the last 12 months has completely exhausted me. Oh, I sleep enough, but I don't rest. In the last 3 years, I've dealt with a phone call. A phone call a lot of us have had. And the person on the end of the phone says, I've got aggressive stage 4 breast cancer. We all know what we'd think in that situation. We would think that's that. A matter of months later, my relationship of a decade came to an end. The ups and downs of that saga have been documented enough. Love came into my life in the form of the most broken, yet the most benevolent and kind human being you could ever wish to meet. And through what people thought was theirs and what they took from her, she couldn't cope. And sadly, for a lot of our trying and a lot of our belief that the strengths that we offered her and the love. I know for a fact I told her I loved her every day of the time I knew her. It wasn't enough. And her demons got the better of her and she died. And that is now 15 months ago. 15 months have passed since she left us. And I'm beginning to realise how utterly devastated a certain series of events in my life have left me. You know, I'm lucky in some respects in that I do know myself so well. My next move is to be with me, is to be with my daughter, and to be afforded the ability to be the family that she deserves, because the mess that I'm in at the moment she deserves better. And I will fight for what remains of her childhood and beyond, to have a base and a father who will be the best anyone could ever wish for. I'm proud of very few things in my life, but my relationship with my daughter, it's everything. It's the universe. It's every concept of right and wrong. It's every shade of colour. It's every beauty. It's every ugly. It's everything that ever existed since the dawn of time. I love my daughter so much, and she loves me too, and for that I have more than most people do in a series of lifetimes. But I just wanted to make it clear that I am devastated. From cancer to the loss of a relationship with somebody who I love dearly, to suicide coming knocking. Just this once, this is about me. I don't take anything away from anyone else who's been involved in any of the stories I've talked about, but this is my story. And a lot of it, and a lot of evil individuals who are in the periphery or on the periphery of my life tried to destroy me. It didn't work, and it will never work, because you cannot break the unbreakable, and that is the love that I share with my daughter. I am at the lowest point and at the lowest ebb I've ever been in my life, but fuck it. I'm fighting this. And I'm fighting this for not just for Poppy, but for me as well. God bless. Nothing but love.